Morning, everybody. Time for another morning walk. Fancy's here. Sun's been along the side of the road. She's been stopping every 5 feet. Hopefully we can keep her on track on the way back home. All right, so today I want to do a little clarification. So several videos ago, I called the certain sectors of our political body fascist, and somebody chimed in and said no, they're more globalist, and I am not arguing that fact. What I do want to do is I want to clarify exactly why I said they are fascist, because quite frankly there are way too many people out there that bandy that word about and have no clue what it means. All right. In fact, most of the people bandying it about are actually fascists, and they don't even realize it. You know, so clueless ideologically. Is that right? Is that the right word? Anyway, they're so clueless as to what their ideology is that they'll just spout off anything that they hear. Okay. So why does GE think that the current regime and people that think like the current regime are fascists? Okay, so there are 3 characteristics to fascism. The first one being extreme nationalism. The second one being militarism. And the third one being the nation above the individual, the state above the individual. All right, so let's address the first one, extreme nationalism. Now, extreme nationalism is not the patriot who waves the flag or goes to a MAGA rally or something like that. That is not extreme patriotism. Extreme patriotism is patriotism backed by the threat or use of violence. All right, now, so are leftist nationalists? Yes, they are nationalists. And here's the reason why I say that. If you go back through our catalog, I did a video about the 2 Americas. So a nation is defined as a group of people that share a common language, ethnicity, religion, or moral framework. So there are 2 Americas. There are 2 nations of America. There's the nation that thinks that the Constitution is the basis for our legal or our government structure, and that Judeo-Christian ethos, even if you're not a Christian, Judeo-Christian ethos, the framework it creates, guides us. Okay, and that nation transcends all ethnicities, religions, you name it, languages. You know, it's the Constitution, the belief in the Constitution, and the ethical framework that's behind what makes America great. Okay, so, and the other nation is a post-Constitution nation that believes that the Constitution does not say what it says, and it is a list of negative rights that curtail government action. And that was stated by the de facto leader of the Democrat Party while he was president. All right, go look it up. It's out there. So there are 2 nations, and leftists are nationalists. They're just not nationalists in the traditional sense. Okay, and it's been proven time and time again that they are willing to use the threat of violence or violence to get what they want. All right, and we can go into a whole discussion about what terrorism is. When I was doing security forces work, we had an entire class on what exactly terrorism was. Oh, it's okay, Fancy. Sorry, a truck just went by. So it's obvious that they're extreme nationalists. Okay? The next one is militarism. And militarism is denoted as having a policy, and normally traditionally it's talking about an international policy where the use of the military is the military is used to pursue certain national goals. Now, if we go back and we look at the rise of Mussolini, prior to him coming into power and going on all these international expeditions, he created a paramilitary force and used it against his rivals inside Italy. And we see that happening here in America. And it started, the militarism in America, and patriots used to, they complained about it, something fierce, and they still do, the militarization of the police force during the Obama years. You know, the government gave away tens of thousands of pieces of military equipment to local police forces under the guise of fighting terrorism. And he's not the one that started it. He's not the one that started it, but he ramped it up and made it much more widespread. You know, there's no reason that, in my mind, that a small town in Kansas or any other state should have an MRAP on their police force. Just there's no reason for it. Along with automatic weapons, M4s and things like that. You can go there. There are websites that show you exactly what military equipment your county or locality has got. You probably ought to go look it up. Anyway, so the militarism internationally is obvious. I mean, you cannot debate the fact that the United States government is a very militaristic government, and it has used the military to pursue its goals and to influence international events. All right, so we can't argue with it in an international sense, our foreign policy. Now, the internal policy, you know, it's very militaristic. Just came out recently that the DOJ in 2024 is still teaching its members that whites, Christians, pro-life, anti-abortion people, and patriots or veterans are potential domestic terrorists. And I'm sorry, I said the DOJ. Yes, the DOJ is doing it, but the DOD is doing it too. And I know this for a fact because up until 3 years ago, when I worked for the DOD, they were teaching that kind of stuff. So they are very militaristic in the idea that eventually they think they're going to use a militarized law enforcement and a militarized Department of Defense, you know, the Department of Defense members, to act against people that do not want the same thing that the regime wants. They are laying the groundwork for it. So yes, they are extremely militaristic in that sense. And then we can go even further with that. Go out and find a video of Antifa rallies. All right. 10 years ago or 8 years ago, whenever all that craziness started, they would show up and they would pretend to be tactical and all this stuff, and they were just ridiculous. You know, having AR-22s and having optics put on backwards and just looking like morons, seriously. But if you go and you look at these rallies in the past couple of years, they've learned, they've evolved, they've trained. There are people providing security, quote unquote, at these rallies that know what they're doing. They're kitted out properly, and they are for all outward appearances well-trained, and capable. And if you think that that's just for self-defense, then you are not a student of history. Because I am pro 2A, and I think that every American should have the right to bear arms. I also know that there are certain Americans whose bearing of arms scares the hell out of me, and for the most part, they're leftist and Marxist. These people that are on the other side that are part of this fascism that's growing in America. And the reason why they scare me is because history shows us that leftists are against guns until they're for guns. And once they're for guns, they realize that they can take a gun and stick it to the back of somebody who disagrees with their head and pull the trigger, and the conversation's over. It's just a historical fact. Now, I'm not saying that so-called right-wing groups, you know, haven't done the same thing, but for the most part, yeah, 100 million people throughout the 20th century would agree with me that leftists owning guns is a big issue. Okay, so let's get to the third characteristic: nation above the individual. Now, you can't argue this one. There's absolutely no way anybody could argue with me about this one, because fascists are for the national collective. They feel that the state is above all. And here's how you can tell. Think about this. If you get a group of conservatives or Republicans together, and I'm not talking about the hardcore radical ones. I'm just talking your average run-of-the-mill group. If you get them together and somebody walks up and goes, "Hey, I'm a Republican," or "Hey, I'm a conservative," they're like, "Cool, come on in, join us." All right? Now, if you've ever been around leftists, whenever they meet somebody and it's like, hey, I'm a leftist, their first reaction is, "We'll see. We will see if you are leftist enough." And, you know, that's the difference between the two groups. All right? But to argue that the current regime and the people that support it do not put the nation, their version of America, above the individual, is just nonsensical. You can't argue against that. All right? So there you go. There's my reasoning on why the current regime and the people that support it are actually fascists. Now, you can disagree with me. That's fine. I don't care. But I just wanted people to understand where I'm coming from, and maybe get a little context of what a fascist actually is. You could disagree with me about the regime, but the facts I stated about the three characteristics of fascism, you know, as it pertains to the word itself, are indefutable. That's the definition. All right. So look, if you agree with me or disagree with me, think I'm off base, want to call me a fascist because you're a Marxist fascist, a Marxist who's using fascism to get their way, you go ahead and put it in the comments. Let me know. Blast me, agree with me, I don't care. I want to know what people think about this. You know, go ahead, and if you think this is worth sharing, share it out with people. Again, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. Check your subscriptions, because we have reached the point where people are being unsubbed from us. If you want to support the channel, but as always, subscribing always supports the channel. Sharing and liking supports the channel. You can support us by going out and hitting our affiliates. The affiliate links are down below. They will help you become less burdened by the weight the system puts upon your shoulders. All right? It'll help you be free. It'll help you gain a little bit of liberty, a little bit of freedom, and it'll make your life easier should things go bad. All right, we're almost back to the house. I appreciate you guys being here with me this morning. Give a little thought to what I said and go out and live a life done free. Take care. Thanks, Milo.